Good morning. We're going to be working on some review items for math. You know that you're going to be taking your Unit 2 test. This is a major test, not a quiz, on Thursday. So this is going to help you to review for this test that's going to be coming up. We did some items yesterday. We're going to continue to look at some of these items again right now. And I'm going to pause right here for a moment and get some water. I'll be right. Okay. So looking at the first item, the item is the roots of the tree are 25 feet below ground. Show the absolute value of the number. Well, if I have a tree that is 25 feet below ground, below ground is a negative number. So the absolute value is going to be negative 25. Okay? The absolute value of this is going to be 25. Remember, absolute value is distance from 0. You would write it this way. The absolute value is 25, no negative sign. Find the opposite of negative 45. Well, again, I'm going to have a number line, and I'm going to encourage you to draw number lines when you're taking this test, because this test is going to be all about opposite numbers, positive and negative numbers, and you want to be able to visualize. Even if it doesn't tell you, create a visual model. Use a number line to help you visualize it. So I have 45, negative 45 on the left side, and I have 45 or positive 45 on the right. I want the opposite of negative 45. Well, from negative 45 to 0 is half of the distance. If I want the opposite, the number is going to stay the same. The sign is going to be different. So the opposite of negative 45 is 45. Okay? Now, yesterday we had talked about electrons are negative and protons are positive. So an atom has 12 electrons and 12 protons. What is its electric charge? Think about how we did this yesterday, and I'm going to give you about half a minute, 30 seconds, to create a number line, plot your 2 points, and find what the electric charge would be if you have a negative 12 and a positive 12. So 30 seconds. Okay? Well, if I have electrons, that's going to be a negative 12. And if I have 12 protons, that's going to be a positive 12. I want to know what its electric charge is. I'm going to look at negative 12 to 0. These are opposite numbers. And positive 12 to 0. And if I have a negative 12 and I have a positive 12, they're going to cancel each other out. And the electric charge is 0. Another way to think about this is if I have 12 lines, that's 2, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to pretend they're all the same size. And these are going to be the positive electrons. And now I'm going to match up and take out the negative electrons. Okay, and for each positive, I'm going to take out a negative. And I'm taking out 12 negatives. And I'm left with 0. So a negative 12 and a positive 12 cancel out. You're left with 0. This next one we spent a lot of time on. What is the value of the opposite of 15? So again, I want you to take 30 seconds. I want you to fill out this side. And I did not mention it at the very beginning, but hopefully you would know by now. If you have a worksheet that you should be showing your work on, you're completing each of these items and not just watching the video and not doing anything. Okay, so when I tell you to, 30 seconds, fill this out to find the value of the opposite of 15. Go. Okay, you should have looked at, if this is what I'm looking for, I'm going to look at the integer, and the integer is 15. And now I want the opposite of 15, which is negative 15. And now I want the opposite of negative 15, and that's 15. Okay, so the opposite of 15 is 15. So let's take a look at the next one. The temperature in the morning at Juneau, Alaska was 15 degrees below 0. And I put a negative in front. 15 degrees below 0 would indicate that that would be a negative. At noon, that should be noon, there should be another O in there. At noon, it was 10 degrees below 0. How much warmer was it by noontime? Yesterday, we talked about drawing a number line. I am sharing with you again, in order to be successful, draw out the number line. Don't try and figure this out on your own and think, I know what I'm doing. Use the number line to help you. So this is going to be negative 5. This is going to be negative 10. This is going to be negative 15. And I know that this was the temperature in the morning. And I know that by noon, it was 10 degrees below 0. It was negative 15, and now it has moved to the right, and it's at negative 10. How much warmer was it by noon? Well, I'm looking at negative 15 to negative 10. I would have to go 5 spaces to get from negative 15 to negative 10. So the distance here is 5 spaces. How much warmer was it by noontime? Well, those 5 spaces represent 5 degrees. So there's been an increase of 5 degrees in the temperature. It's still freezing cold, but it's 5 degrees warmer. Okay? So I'm going to clear what I have here. And I'm going to move down to the next set. And this next item says to write the values from least to greatest for the following. Well, the first thing I'm noticing is each of these items says the absolute value. So the absolute value of negative 12, the absolute value of 45. I want you to take 1 minute. Okay, I'm going to time you from here. And I want you to write the absolute value. And this says from least to greatest, or from smallest to largest. So get ready. You're going to have 1 minute and begin. Okay, you should be finished. So I'm going to start first with finding the absolute value. This is, absolute value is 12. This is 45. Remember, there is no negative with absolute value. This is 2. This is 100. This is 20. And this last one is 85. Now, this wants me to write them from least to greatest, or from smallest to largest. So I'm looking at my numbers here for the absolute value, and my smallest is 2. I'm going to separate my items with a comma. And my next one is going to be 12, followed by 20. Next is 45. After that will be 85. And the last one will be 100. I'm going to check to make sure I have all of them here. You would want to do the same thing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means I should have 6 numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have them all represented, and I'm going to double check to make sure that they are in order from least to greatest, and they are. So going to the next item, decide if the following are less than 0, 0, or greater than 0. And these are the items that I'm looking at here. Well, the absolute value of 18 is going to be 18. So that is greater than 0. 4 and 5/10 below 0. Below 0. That's going to have to be less than 0. Okay, I got you started with these. You have the rest of these to figure out where they're going to go. So I'm going to give you another minute, and I want you to do the remaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. Ready? Begin. Okay, so let's check back in. And let's see, are there any others that are less than 0? Well, I'm looking at 2 feet below the surface. Below the surface means it's a negative number. That's going to go here. The opposite of 12/17. Well, the opposite of 12/17 is negative. I suppose I should put a negative sign here for less than zeros. Negative 12/17. Are there any others less than 0? Owes, 1250. If you owe money, that is a debt. 1250 would go here. Okay? I've got the absolute value of 18. I've got 4 and 5/10 below 0. We've got owes, 1250. 2 feet below the surface, the opposite of 12/17. The absolute value of negative 10 is 10 and negative 10. Remember, we talked about using a number line. These are opposite numbers. They are equidistant from 0. So if I look at negative 10 and 10, I move 10 spaces to the right, I move 10 spaces to the left, and you end up with 0. So this is going to be the absolute value of negative 10 and negative 10 would give you 0. And the absolute value of 0 is 0. Credit for $10. If I have a credit for $10, that means I'm getting $10. Yay! That's great. You can go to Starbucks now. And that takes care of all of my items. So hopefully you get the same ones in there. Remember, paying attention to detail and reading the directions are going to be critical for this one. So I'm going to clear this page. And we're going to continue. Okay, here we go. The bottom of a ship is 10 feet below sea level. The top mast is 20 feet above sea level. What is the total height of the ship from the base of the ship to the top of the mast? Well, I am drawing a vertical number line. I want a visual image of what this is going to look like. Okay? And I know that the bottom is 10 feet below sea level. There's sea level. This is negative 10 feet below sea level. I know the top of the mast is 20 feet above sea level. So my 20 is going to go here. What is the total height from the base of the ship up to the top of the mast? Well, to go from negative 10 to 0, I need to go 10 spaces. To go from 0 to 20, I need to go 20 spaces. Altogether, I am going a total of 30 spaces. So what is the total height of the ship from the base to the top? It is 30 feet. Okay, this tells me it's 10 feet below and 20 feet above. So the unit that we're measuring in is feet. But draw your number line. If you see items like this, draw your number line. If you're talking about below sea level, above sea level, you have a vertical number line. Make sure you draw that and calculate what your answer is going to be. Okay, on to the next one. Complete the following transactions. Yesterday, we looked at one that looked like this, but there was one that I did not read very carefully. And so I've got a similar item in here, and we're going to pay attention to this. So I have 450, and I am going to subtract, because if I am purchasing, I need to be able to subtract. So I have 450, and I'm going to subtract $85. Okay, so I'm going to have 450, and I'm going to subtract 85. That's going to leave me with a balance of 365. So this is my new beginning balance, 365. But now, let's read this carefully. Receives a birthday check for $100. If I get a check, this is not coming out of my account. I am going to add this in. I have $365 plus $100. That's going to give me a new balance of $465. Notice my amount went up, and it went up by $100. My new balance is now $465. My next item is I purchase a bike for $250. So I'm going to subtract $250 from $465. And my balance is $215. And the question is, what is your final balance? I have 3 transactions. I have subtract 85, add back in 100, and subtract 250. This is my ending balance, or my final balance. Okay? I'm going to clear this. And we are down to the last item. Which statements are true or false? Look at these statements, okay? And you're going to write true or false, okay? This one you can circle, whichever one. You have the absolute value of negative 25 equals 25. So you're going to read each of these, and you're going to determine if your statement is true or false. I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this one, okay? Get ready, go. Okay, let's check and see how you did. The absolute value of negative 25 is 25. 25 equals 25. That is a true statement. 50 feet above sea level is negative 50. No, that's false. 50 is not the same thing as negative 50. That is a false statement. The opposite of 35 is negative 35. Again, remember, you're going to start with integer, and we're going to say the integer is 35. The opposite of 35 is negative 35. The opposite of negative 35 is 35. So the opposite of 35 is negative 35 is a false statement. That is not true. It is a positive 35. The next one, 500 feet below sea level is negative 500. That is true. If you're below sea level on a vertical number line, you're below 0. That is a negative number. 20 degrees below 0 is negative 20. Again, that is a true statement. Okay? And the absolute value of negative 15 is greater than 5. Well, the absolute value of negative 15 is 15. 15 is greater than 5, and that is true. Okay, so you should have all of these finished. I'm going to have you keep this paper. This will become a study guide for you. Review it tonight. Look at the items, try and make up some other examples, and see if you can work them out. Go back and look at this if you need a little bit more help, but try some on your own and see how you do. There should still be a little bit of time left in the class period. Today's the 7th day, but there should still be a few minutes left. So put this paper in your binder, take out your AR book, and read silently until the end of the period. No talking. Read silently. Okay? I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.